Good morning, Governor. How are you today, sir?
Tony, good morning. It's a sunny day for voting today.
Man, I tell you, Governor Bob McDonnell on the line, always a pleasure. And man, just starting off, a net gain of 3 seats would make you a very happy man in the Senate, would it not, sir?
Well, this is a great day for democracy. You know, people get to come out and be able to vote their choice for Senate and House and other local elected seats. And yes, obviously, if I had a few more fiscal conservatives in the Virginia Senate, I think there's some more things that we could do to get some problems solved. Although, you know, we've had a pretty good run the last 2 years with a divided legislature on some big issues, even balancing budgets without raising taxes, $1 billion in surpluses. So, you know, we got a good start, Tony. But yes, I'm rooting for my team. Been working for them the last several months and hoping for a couple of pickups in both houses.
No, 2 seats would give the party a 20-20 split, 20-20, and then you got Lieutenant Governor Bill Bolling
right
as a tiebreaker. Now, Governor, just point out to us that what you think is important if you do. Now, you got the House. If you were able to get the Senate, why is that important to you? What would you be able to do that you would not be able to do if things don't go the way you would like them to?
You know, I think having fiscally conservative people who are going to be more innovative and bold and reforming government would be helpful, and I think Republicans would do that. I think we still have some very tough budget times, Tony. With even though we've navigated through this last couple of years, okay, we have got job losses or job unemployment rates. It's while third lowest east of the Mississippi, still too high. We got unfunded mandates from Washington. We've got unfunded liabilities in our pension system. And so we're going to still have to make some tough decisions in the budget and about government. We're going to have to cut boards, commissions, agencies, and streamline the way we do things, just like families and businesses are. I think Republicans will do a better job with that. I've got to fix the pension system that is $18 billion underfunded. It's tough decisions, but need to be made, and Republicans have already shown they're more willing to do that. We've got some changes that I'd like to see to improve our K-12 education system with more accountability and more school choice and more opportunities for STEM-related degrees. We've got more work we should do with our energy. We got every God-given natural resources in Virginia. We need to use them all, not just alternatives. And I think Republicans are more likely to help me with that. So there's a number of things, Tony, that I think a Republican majority would get done, and all of it's about solving problems and creating more access and opportunities for the American dream. That's what I believe in. That's what the team that I've been campaigning for believes in.
Yeah, it's Election Day 2011. Very pleased to have Governor Bob McDonnell is here with us, as he is every second Tuesday of the month. Now, Governor, this lady Jackie sent this to me a month ago, the day that you were on, and I didn't get to it in time. And then last week, she knows me, she sent it again, but she said, okay, maybe this time you'll get it. And here's what she writes. She says, regarding the governor and the surplus, I so wanted to call, but I was driving. I couldn't get to the telephone. How can you call it a surplus when you took $25 million of the Virginia retirement system, and which has not been funded in years? Will I not have a retirement? What changes are you going to make? I've not had a pay raise in 4 years. Luckily, as my company's president says, she's lucky to have a job. This year we received a 5% raise to cover the cost of the pensions, to which we will now contribute after years of the Commonwealth doing so. In the early years, I did pay into the system. The Commonwealth took over in the 80s, I believe. What happens next year? No pay raise, no 5% increase to cover. And that's what Jackie would like to know, Governor.
Well, I appreciate her writing in on this, because the retirement system has been a problem for a long time in being underfunded, and I'm determined to try to fix it and not pass this problem on to another governor. Now, on the question of the surplus, it's really just a function of math. If you have revenues that exceed your budget and you have expenses that come in under budget, then you generate a surplus. And, Tony, that's what we've had the last 2 years, $400 million last year and $545 million this year. We've focused on creating jobs. We've cut back in spending below budget, and so that's generated these surplus revenues. However, in balancing the budget back in 2010, the legislature proposed, and I approved, and I agree, we approved withholding some payments to the retirement system, but making that up over 10 years with interest, so there's not any harm at all to the corpus of the Virginia Retirement System Trust Fund. And so we already started making those payments in advance. I will continue that this budget cycle. But even with that, because of some past declining stock market returns, and frankly, the fact that up until last year, the state paid every nickel of the retirement system, and employees paid none. We just didn't put enough money in at the state and had no contributions from the employees. And so I think we need to take a look at the fact that when you're $18 billion underfunded, you're going to have to make some tough choices in order to make sure that Jackie's retirement is there when she retires, and that's my goal.
Thank you so much, Jackie, for checking in. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'll have some more questions for the governor, but if you'd like to call in, you want to send an email, you can do it, tony@wnis.com, 627-7979. One lady, Sheila, has been waiting since the last hour, so let me get to her. And Sheila, thank you so much for being patient, and you're on with the governor. Go ahead, Sheila.
Hi, Governor McDonnell. I wanted to find out, in a time when access to health insurance is minimal, women of low income, women of color, women in rural communities will need access to family planning, abortion clinics, and with these regulations that were written by the Board of Health, if you sign them, those women will be the ones that suffer because there's a greater chance of these clinics shutting down if you sign these regulations. What should these women do?
Well, Sheila, thank you for calling in. I appreciate you expressing your opinion. My biggest concern about our healthcare system is the federally mandated healthcare system that was approved last year. That's why we're filing suit against the federal government and why I think we need to change that system and have it be more about free markets and provide proper incentives to provide better health care for all women and all men. And so that's a bigger concern. On the regulatory front, Sheila, as you probably know, the legislation that you talked about was passed last year by both houses, bipartisan support for a legislation to ask the Board of Health to increase regulations in abortion clinics, to have it regulated more like other outpatient surgery centers or like hospitals. And so that's what was required by the General Assembly. The Board of Health on a 12-1 vote with really both appointees from my administration and Governor Kane's administration approving those regulations. And now they're on the way to me, and our team is reviewing those now. So I think like some regulations that improve health care or safety or cleanliness or other things in hospitals or clinics, there may be some increase in the cost of regulation or the cost of operations to comply with those regulations. And so I think that may happen, but I would not think that people that want to use family planning services would have any barriers to using those services, but there's certainly be some compliance costs.
So, Governor, are you saying that there's a chance that these clinics will not shut down if you sign these regulations?
Well, ma'am, I don't know because I don't operate those clinics. I don't know what impact it will have yet. I haven't seen the regulations. They have not gotten to my desk. I know they're being reviewed by various entities after the Board of Health, and I'll take a look at them when they come to my desk, which hopefully will be in the next month or so.
And would you make some amendments if there's a need to make some amendments to those regulations?
Well, I can't tell you that. I mean, if
so
I
that
think
it
that there
could
needs to be
comply
changes
with
made,
what other clinics are being regulated by?
Oh, you can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I was talking over you. I apologize. I haven't seen the regulations yet, and if I think there's changes that need to be made, either for legal or other reasons, then I would make them. But a 12-1 vote by the Board of Health says that our health experts believe that this is the right policy for Virginia. It was mandated by the General Assembly, and so I'll take a look at them when I get them.
Thank you for the call, Sheila. And if you'd like to talk to Governor Bob McDonnell, it's you, 627-7979. In a little bit, I'll get your emails, tony@wnis.com. We go to Virginia Beach, and we welcome Steve to the conversation. Hello, Steve. Welcome, and go ahead, please, Steve.
Governor,
Steve, good morning.
I work construction. I see people in these projects on welfare in brand new cars, 30-day tags, new flat screen TV boxes everywhere, new furniture and all this stuff. I have no problem with somebody buying new stuff, but they're supporting themselves and living my working man lifestyle on welfare. How do you expect these people to get off of welfare and support themselves and be on their own if you allow them to have retail credit at a level once they buy it, they're in that debt hole for the rest of their life, and we're supporting them for the rest of their life. I don't think they should be allowed to have retail credit until they can pay their own way.
All right, thank you.
Well, Steve, thanks for the call and that concern. About 16 years ago, we reformed welfare here in Virginia under Governor Allen. I was actually the chief patron of the legislation, and what we did here and others in Wisconsin and other states became a model for the federal federal welfare reform in 1996 that put very strict limits on the benefits and a time limit on benefits, required work, and required other things to be done in exchange for benefits. I thought that was the right social contract. I think we do have, as a caring society, we do have an ability to a requirement, I think, to take care of those that are less fortunate. But we also have a duty to make sure that people are truly in need when they get those benefits, so we don't waste taxpayers' money. So that's the current formula. We have, I think, reasonable enforcement at our social services offices and at the federal level. So it's hard to comment on a particular circumstance where it appears somebody has a significant lifestyle but yet are receiving public benefits. We're always trying to police fraud in our system, and if we find people that are engaged in fraud, Medicaid fraud or Medicare welfare fraud or other kinds of fraud, we prosecute them here under the law. So we're always trying to make sure we have that proper balance between social responsibility and people that are being irresponsible and taking advantage of the public.
Governor, we're on the topic of people with jobs, not jobs. I see some good news where out of Maryland, Bechtel Corporation is shifting 625 jobs to the Old Dominion. That's very good. Always glad to see jobs coming. But then I also see something else possibly coming from Maryland and Lockheed Martin. That you're going to lure, was that the possibility exists? It says the McDonnell administration actively trying to lure Lockheed Martin away from Maryland. What are we talking about there? Lockheed Martin, what aspect of Lockheed Martin are we trying to lure away from Maryland?
I think that's based on an action that the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors was considering a couple of months ago, where they were being very derogatory in really their approach to defense contractors and the foreign policy that our country is engaged in concerning the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I think when any level of government makes business feel unwelcome, they can they can vote their pocketbook and they can move. Businesses are mobile these days, and so that was the uproar, I think, in Maryland with the treatment of Lockheed Martin that provides tens of thousands of jobs in the capital region, and didn't feel like they were getting great treatment by the Maryland local government. So, I can only say, without getting into details, we are always looking to attract business from states that either have bad tax, regulatory, right to work, or education policies, or do things that just make their businesses feel unwelcome. We are the most business-friendly state in America, Tony, according to CNBC and Polina, the polls this year. And we want jobs in Virginia. We welcome defense contractors. We're proud of the people like Lockheed Martin that provide the incredible technology and tools for our warfighters to be able to do the nation's business. So I'd love to have Lockheed Martin come to Virginia. Bechtel just announced some of their global headquarters coming yesterday, 625 jobs. Northrop Grumman and others just leaving California for Virginia. So we like people that provide jobs in Virginia, and I'd welcome them here.
One of the things I saw about a trade mission that's coming up next week, and I always find that interesting. As you know, we've talked about it before. And so I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, okay, so I'm reading on in the story, and I'm thinking, well, I wonder what he tells them. And once again, Virginia is more business-friendly. It'd be more economical for you to operate in our state. But then I was surprised to see, because I'm thinking, what is Israel, what is that going to be all about? And then I see where there is a huge Israeli company, Sabra, and it's described as opening a major facility in Richmond.
Well, yes, Tony, actually we're leaving tomorrow night with a delegation from Virginia to go to Israel and India over about a 12-day period. Some of that obviously is travel, but we will be on the ground with a number of businesses, some that we already do business with that we want to expand, and some that we want to try to attract, either in two ways, either direct foreign investment in Virginia, like Teva Pharmaceuticals, or like Sabra Dipping Company, 300-plus new jobs here just outside of Richmond. I opened that plant. I was there last year. Terrific business for this region and other Israeli companies, and then we'll look for ways to expand Virginia exports to Israel. And then we're going to India. Now, India's a huge market, 1.3 billion people. There are tremendous opportunities for agricultural exports, some technology exchange, and I think we'll have some good opportunities there. This is my third major mission. I went to China and Korea and Japan in the spring. We're already seeing major benefits from that in terms of exports of soybeans and wine and beef and chicken and some other agreements that have been that are in the process of being reached. The same with the other countries. So I think it does do a lot of good, Tony. As you know, the elements of business. If you want the sale, you got to look a customer in the eye and say, "I want your business, and here's why." Mm-hmm. And that's what we're trying to do. I think we're going to get a lot of good things done here these next couple of weeks.
Makes sense. All right, we're going to take a little AM 790 WNIS. We're very pleased to have this morning and every second Tuesday of the month the governor of the Old Dominion, Governor Bob McDonnell, and we're going to go this time around for Governor Bob McDonnell. We have a call from Charlene. Charlene, thank you for calling us. You're on with Governor Bob McDonnell. Go ahead, Charlene.
Hello, Governor McDonnell.
Hello, Charlene.
Hi. Yes, this is about automobile accidents. I've talked with 3 or 4 lawyers, including a former classmate and a friend of yours, Paul Hedges.
Okay.
And anyway, I was involved in a car accident on May 24th of this year, and I went to make a left turn, and a car hit me so hard it felt like it turned me around 2 or 3 times. And the police came, and he asked me what happened. I told him I didn't know, and I was in a state of shock. And he interviewed the other people, and they told him that I went over on the other side of the road and hit them, which was not true, which isn't true. And the lawyers are telling me that I can't sue because it's 1% my fault. And I understand that this is the only state in the United States that has this law where I can't sue them. So I'd like for this law to be changed, and I had intended to write you, but I'm so glad that you're on the air so I can ask you rather than having to write. So
Charlene,
I wish this law could be changed.
Well, first of all, thank you for calling in, and I hope you're on the mend. Those are always traumatic events, being in a car accident. What you're talking about is a law that we have called a contributory negligence ban. And I'm sure I'm not trying to dispense legal advice, although I am a lawyer, but you've obviously talked to 3 or 4 good lawyers. And that is the law in a tort case where you are suing for negligence if you as the plaintiff are found to be contributorily negligent towards the accident, then there is an absolute ban for recovery. And you're correct. We're not the only state. There are, I believe, 4 or 5 states at last time I looked that have that in the law. Other states have what's called comparative negligence, where they weigh the fault of, let's say if you're 5% negligent, the other side's 95%, then they apportion the blame, if you will, for the accident, and then recoveries can be meted out that way. So that is correct. I will say that it does, in the long run, cut down dramatically on premiums because it cuts down on recoveries. And it goes back to the old theory that if you are to blame for something, then you shouldn't be allowed to recover. So I understand the concern and maybe occasionally the harshness of that proposal, and if you're only 1% negligent, but that's a long-standing law of the Commonwealth.
Thank you for the call.
I appreciate your call.
Thank you, Charlene. And let's go to Steve. Hey, Steve, you're on WNIS. You're on with Governor Bob McDonnell. Go ahead, Steve.
How you doing, Governor?
Steve, thanks for calling.
All right. Conservative Independent Union member. And the rumor on the waterfront is that you're trying to get rid of union labor on the waterfront. What is your official position on that?
Well, Steve, you got to watch out for those rumors.
There you go.
I don't have any... we have not had any discussions about the waterfront in particular. I assume you mean you're working with the ILA or you're working at the port. And if you are, I appreciate that because we've got one of the best ports in the country, and it is tough work, but it makes us incredibly competitive with the rest of the world. Now, I do believe that Virginia's right-to-work law is the right policy, that you shouldn't be forced to have to join a union in order to work. It's a great competitive advantage for us here in Virginia. We have a fairly small amount of private unionization in Virginia, only about 3% of the workforce, and don't have public sector unions and don't permit public sector collective bargaining. But I'm not sure where that particular rumor came from, Steve, but I just want to thank you for your hard work.
Thank you very much for the call, Steve. Let's go to Dave, who's next. Dave, you're on with Governor Bob McDonnell. Go ahead, Dave.
Thank you, Governor. I really appreciate the great job you're doing in this Commonwealth.
Thank you, Dave.
I'm in the process. I'm a local inventor in Virginia Beach that's trying to get a new product out to the state and out into the country. And the problems for our local inventors today are, the banks are not loaning money. And, I'm just wondering, with some really good ideas out there, a job could be created, especially if the local cities and states would be able to participate and maybe even partner with some of these small businesses and ideas and create jobs. I have a company in Winchester, Virginia, that's looking to make my product, and I'm getting companies all over saying, you need to do it overseas. And I'm like, no, I want to keep the jobs here in Virginia. I want to keep it in USA. But I'll tell you what, it's hard to get a new product, a new idea out without, a whole bunch of feedback.
Well, Steve, thank you for your call. I'd love to see if you got some very specific ideas on what we need to do, or more importantly, what's the bureaucracy and the regulatory holdups and other impediments to the development of new ideas. This is one of the single biggest issues facing America, is to be able to sustain our growth rate and continue to be the exceptional nation we are, where we pride ourselves in being a laboratory of innovation and discovery, and particularly Virginia having the second highest number of technology workers in all of the country. We've got to have a steady flow of new companies, because that's where most of the jobs are coming from. It's 70-some% of all new jobs come from people like you, innovators, entrepreneurs. And so we are going to focus, again, this session on helping to do things to promote small business, reduce the regulatory burdens, and I'd love to see what your ideas are, and perhaps you can send those to WNIS or send them directly to us. Here you can look at the website at www.virginia.gov and get the website or the email directly for the governor's office, and send us your ideas, because we still got 2 months before the session, and we are preparing those ideas right now.
We'll check in with James in Portsmouth. Hi, James. It's you. Go ahead and talk to Governor Bob McDonnell. James.
Yes, Governor McDonnell.
James, thanks for calling.
I'm currently an armed security officer who works currently guarding a few of the grocery stores here in Hampton Roads. And I had a question. What do you think the possibility of Virginia going to a system like Florida did, where they do mandatory drug testing for any welfare benefits provided by the state, like EBT or anything like that? Because during the course of my duties, especially around the first of the month when food stamps first come available, I'll have people coming in and buying large amounts of groceries, yet they reek of marijuana or something like that. And, it kind of goes against the grain of, if they don't have money to afford, food, but they have money to afford illegal drugs. I just didn't know if Virginia had any plan to implement a system like that or not.
Well, I certainly understand that concern, because, first of all, there are criminal laws already on drug abuse and use. It's something we're going to take on in a big way, even this session, to try to combat illegal drug distribution and use in Virginia. 60+% of all the crimes are still related to drugs in some way, and we've got to do a better job. The social contract, though, between the welfare recipient and the state is that you've got to work for your benefits. As long as you're able-bodied and physically capable of working, you've got to work. And if that drug use or distribution impairs your ability to work, then the welfare recipient's not keeping up their bargain. So, as we discussed a little earlier in the show, Tony, it's a balance between the social contract and taking care of people that are poor or down on their luck or need help, which we should do a little bit with the state, a lot with our great social and religious institutions. But also we expect people to do everything they can to work their way to independence. In other words, we look at this as a hand up, not a handout. And we don't have generational welfare. It's 2 years and then third year transition benefits, and that's it. So anyway, those are policies that some states are looking at. I know our state, some legislators are looking at that, because the bottom line is we want people on for a very short period of time and then get back on their feet and work.
Governor Bob McDonnell on the line today on AM 790 WNIS. Now, I got to take another bit of a break. Yeah, it was on this day. I saw this in Today in History. On this date in 1960, that JFK defeated the vice president at the time, Richard M. Nixon, in the presidential election. And I tell you what, when you look back on it, man, JFK was 43 years old. Hard to believe that he'd be a man in his 90s now. Yep, 1960. AM 790 WNIS. A little Today in History there, Governor. And you're too young to remember that, I would imagine.
No, sir. I am not. I was not quite as old as you, Tony, but I was old enough to remember. And of course, remember vividly just a couple years later when he was shot. I don't think I'll ever forget that. That was 9.
None of us ever will. Let's take another phone call for Governor Bob McDonnell. Let's go to Kevin in Virginia Beach. Glad you called, Kev. You're on with the governor. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Governor. Just want to say thanks for all your hard work, and we appreciate you out here. I live in Forbes District, and also I think he's very good and does a lot for the state. I just wanted to have. Just wondered if Virginia's doing anything to, say, like Arizona with immigration, as far as maybe supporting federal immigration law.
Kevin, thank you for your call. My biggest concern right now is enforcement. Obviously, we have to do a better job enforcing border security, which is largely the responsibility of the United States government. I don't think they're doing the job that we expect them to do. And then civil enforcement in the country. One of my great frustrations over the last 5 years as Attorney General, now Governor, is how little the state actually is empowered to do. It's ICE, it's the federal government that has sole responsibility. In fact, under the federal preemption doctrine, they prevent the states from doing most things. For almost 15 months now, I've had a petition into the Division of Homeland Security to ask them to authorize our state police under Section 287G of the Immigration Naturalization Service Act to let our state police be trained as assistant ICE agents to help enforce the law. And they refuse to even give me an answer, much less give me the right answer, which is yes. So it's very frustrating. We know they're understaffed and underfunded, and there's budget problems in the federal government. So let's use the states to help out. And I cannot get an answer from this administration. So that's what we're trying to do our part here in Virginia. In the meantime, while we want to welcome people to this country, I happen to be a second-generation immigrant from Ireland myself, but we want to welcome new people who want to come here and work hard and play by the rules and assimilate in the culture and learn English and contribute to the economy. That's great for our country. But people who come here and commit crimes need to be detained and deported, and I think most people agree with that approach. So we're trying to do our part, but until the federal government gets a solution, we're going to have problems.
Our next call comes from Chesapeake, and it's Michael talking about jobs. Hey, Michael, it's you. You're on WNIS. Go ahead, please.
Governor McDonnell, I'm a car salesman out here in the Suffolk area, and I'm really excited about the 2 new businesses that are opening up out here over there in Windsor and then the one off 58. I just would like to know, what are you specifically doing to lure jobs in Virginia? Because whatever you're doing a hell of a job.
Well, you're very nice, and I tell you, the car business has had a lot of ups and downs in the last decade. Boy, during that post 9/11 era, when so many other businesses were hurting, car sales and home sales really kept the economy afloat. Now, last year and the year before was some very tough sledding for your business. All I can say is, starting years ago, Virginian legislators decided that the key to our success was encouraging the private sector and growing jobs and business, and we've tried to take that to a greater level and focus on job creation. And we're down to 6.5%, which is still unacceptable, still too high. 250,000 plus Virginians unemployed. But it's a series, to answer your question, it's a series of incentives. It's keeping a good basic business climate, low taxes, limited regulation, try to keep commercial lawsuits down, great universities that focus on workforce development. And we've got other various tax incentives and other policies we put in place. We've opened up trade offices in China, in England. I'll open one up in about a week in Mumbai, India, and we just want to be open for business, and we welcome businesses here. We talk positive about job creators and not protest against them or criticize them as some in Washington are doing. And I think it's been a successful formula.
Dave in Virginia Beach joins the conversation talking about exporting to China. Dave, go ahead, please.
Yes. Good morning, Governor McDonnell and Tony.
Hi.
I'm involved in the forestry business of the export of our renewable resource of timber, of logs to China. And as you well know, on April 2nd, they banned the export of logs from the state of Virginia and the state of South Carolina. And what my question is, it's a domino effect that we're naturally not being able to export these materials through our ports in Virginia. So the domino effect is the timber doesn't go, the ports do not get to increase the volume of cargo going out. Are you looking into this situation with the Chinese government?
Well, absolutely, and you're correct, and it's a very frustrating development. It happened last, I think, March or April. We were notified. There were some problems with a shipment over there, I believe, where some pests were discovered, but I think it was one shipment, and we've tried to do everything we can to assure customers over in Canada that was a one-time event. I was in China in May and personally discussed this issue with some senior officials. I know we've talked to the Agriculture Department here, the State Department, and others here about trying to get this ban removed, and unfortunately at this point we have not been able to get that done. So I am very concerned about it. It's a lot of dollars. It is a lot of port throughput, and we are certainly hopeful that we can get this resolved soon.
Let's go to George in Virginia Beach talking about highways. George, go ahead. It's you on WNIS.
Hey, Governor. I think you're doing a terrific job. One of the things I've noticed is that there seems to be a large quantity of waste on highway projects. As I travel around the state and on the interstates and so forth, I see them going through and changing steel blocks on guardrails to wooden blocks, which are going to deteriorate and have to be replaced more often. Then I see them putting in excessive lighting along the interstate so that from the air everything's going to look like a runway. In a time when we're screaming about too much energy being used and too many tax dollars being spent, I mean, somebody has to pay for that electricity. Is there any plans in for them to reevaluate this type of situation and look for that kind of waste that, to me, has no obvious safety bearing?
All right, George, thank you, sir.
Well, George, tell me, how do you think the waste is occurring again? I'm sorry, I missed that.
He thought that he's seeing replacement rails, and according to George, the replacement product is wood, and he thinks that that creates a situation where they will have to be replaced more often than what they were using before they used the wood, and he thinks there's too much signage. There's too much signage on the roads. He thinks it's like a runway, he said, with all the signage. He thinks it's overdone.
I see. Okay. Well, I tell you, I'll look into that. I have confidence in our Secretary of Transportation and his team that they are looking at those issues and always trying to find the most cost-effective way to be able to provide the safety signage and directional signage and so forth. But that's a very interesting observation about the materials themselves, and I made a note here. We'll take a look at it.
AM 790 WNIS. Let us continue, and let's go to Scott. Hey, Scott, you're on WNIS with Governor Bob McDonnell. Go ahead, please, Scott.
How you doing, gentlemen? Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Scott.
Good morning, Scott.
Yes, I just wanted to comment in reference to the gentleman that called, the security caller called about, the benefits. I do agree, it's a hands up, not a hand out, and like that. But the thing about it is that he made a big deal about, people smell like marijuana. And I personally just think that if we stop spending a whole lot of money doing that, trying to fight people who are smoking marijuana and decriminalize it and let the state make money instead of spending money on it. That's, but I didn't know if the governor might thought that might be a possibility in the future.
Governor?
Well, George, I do appreciate that. That is a libertarian view that your host might even share. I'm not sure.
Thank you, sir. Well, yeah, as far as that goes, I'm not for the legalization of all drugs, Governor, because I think that you can make people we can be as free without civilization crumbling. And from what I've seen with cocaine and heroin and crack and things like that, yes, that would be a very bad thing. But I could see, as far as marijuana, I think that when people take drugs that harm them, whether it be alcohol or any other intoxicant, it's more of a mental problem if it's overdone than a criminal problem. And with marijuana, there's money to be made, but I can appreciate politics being what they are, that probably the best way to go for a Republican governor now is not as a big advocate of the legalization of marijuana. But there is money to be made, Governor.
That was well stated, sir. Perhaps one time I can come in and host a show and I can interview you for an hour. What do you say?
I'm sure it'll be great.
Listen, I appreciate that viewpoint, and some, frankly, on the right and the left of the political spectrum have advocated that over the years. I guess after 22 years in law enforcement, now I have a different view, and that is we just need to first of all and foremost educate young people just to stay away from drugs. If you want to have great access to the American dream, the worst thing you can do is start abusing drugs or alcohol. It hurts you badly over time, physically and otherwise. And particularly for those that deal drugs illegally, they need to be punished more harshly. And we've just got to realize that to live a happy and good life here in America, you've got to have your wits about you and work hard and play by the rules and be able to contribute to society, and drugs and alcohol aren't going to help with that at all.
I have to agree with that. I think that people should be free, but yeah, got to agree. It's certainly not going to help you in your life. Let us continue. Governor Bob McDonnell is here, and let's get to this. Bill in Chesapeake. You're on with the Governor. Bill, go ahead, please.
Hey, Governor, this is Bill.
Hi, Bill.
Hi. Governor, I'm calling about the proposed toll situation here in Hampton Roads. I can't believe not many people have called on this, and I know you're against the gas tax as an alternative, but I think they should be reconsidered. 58-year sentence to Hampton Roads to have tolls that will escalate each year is just, to me, a bad situation where you could put the gas tax in, and that would kind of adjust itself. As you can see, the difference in the gas price between Virginia and North Carolina. Can we have some feedback on that?
Thank you for that input. We put a lot of new money into transportation last year with an infrastructure bank, some bonds, and I hope you're starting to see some projects out there. We do have a significant allocation of that money for Hampton Roads, but we still have a tremendous deficit in our maintenance budget that we need to address. Listen, there are a lot of ways to pay for roads and bridges and infrastructure. There are no free lunches, though. It's got to be paid for somehow with taxes, user fees, or other ideas. I think that the toll is, particularly for longer rural stretches or maybe a bridge crossing, is appropriate. If you use that road, you pay for it. That's ultimately a good way to pay for government services. So there's certainly not going to be any excess of it, but you're correct, George. There are some projects, including the Midtown and Downtown Tunnel, Route 460, that the tolls are being proposed as part of the way to pay for it.
Governor Bob McDonnell on the line. Let's go to Jonathan. We're running out of time. Let's get to Jonathan. Jonathan, thank you for the call. Welcome. Go ahead, please.
Good morning.
Hi, Jonathan.
First of all, I'm a Democrat, and I want the governor to know that I voted for him after listening to him on your show, Tony. I would appreciate the governor taking the high road. We don't need to talk about the current administration. Everybody knows they're doing bad. And one thing I like about the governor, and I can see voting for the governor again if he aspires to higher offices, is that he is a fair man, and he comes across that way. But attacking the current administration just doesn't work. Thank you.
That wasn't exactly a virulent attack, to say the least. Governor, go ahead, defend yourself.
Well, I don't think there's much to defend. I appreciate his courtesies and his nice comment. And honestly, one of the things we've tried to do here in Richmond is to turn down the rhetoric and focused on solving problems and getting results. We've had Democrats and Republicans work together in a divided legislature to pass a unanimous budget, unanimous reforms of higher education, and a bunch of other important things that, you know, are about the kitchen table issues. So I think that's what you do. Now, my problem with Washington, it's not personal attacks, it's policy differences. And when you have a 9.1% unemployment rate and you have a nation that's broke, then that's not acceptable. We're the greatest nation on earth. We're an exceptional place. But we've got some policies, and some coming out of the White House, that I don't think are good for the country. More taxes, more regulation, more litigation, and not enough focus on just solving problems. There's too much rhetoric on both sides in Washington. I think that's why you see in some of these recent polls about 15 or 18% approve of Washington and about 60% approve of where we're going in Virginia. We're just taking a different way, and it's all about solving problems and toning down the rhetoric. So I do appreciate his comments. I think first and foremost, Tony, we got to agree we're all Americans. We're an exceptional country. We're privileged to be in this land. We got great defenders of freedom in the military that live all over Hampton Roads. We should appreciate them, and we just need to rally behind this founding vision of our nation as the best charter for liberty that the world has ever known. And then secondly, we explore these differences as Republicans and Democrats. I'm a conservative Republican. I believe our ideas are better, and we're going to fight for them. But there's no need in having personal attacks in this business, so you just don't get anything done.
Well said. What a pleasure. Good to hear from you, Governor. I look forward to having you back again next month, and tomorrow will be an interesting day as we check all the results.
Great, Tony. Always good to see my friends in Hampton Roads. Been down there a couple times recently, and look forward to going on with you every month. Be well.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you very much. Governor Bob McDonnell this morning right here in AM 790.